We're going to explore the dock, the Launchpad, and general apps usage and what that means on the MacBook as we move forward. So the first thing to look at is the dock. The dock is located at the bottom of the screen, and it works the same way as it does on your iPad. The apps that are on your dock will always be there until you remove them, or in some cases until you close them, which we will look at here in a minute. At the end of your dock, you will always have your trash can, and at the beginning of the dock, you'll have your Finder. The two things you cannot change and manipulate on your dock will be your Finder and your trash can. So when we start with the dock, any of the apps that are located here that have a white dot underneath them, that means that they are actually open. I may not see them on the screen, but that means they are open and they are functioning using a processing power, maybe even using Wi-Fi. Next that you want to think about is what apps do you actually use the most? Those are the ones you want to keep in your dock. There are some people that have a lot of apps in their dock. There are some people that have very few apps in their dock, but these are the ones that you access on a regular basis. A few of the things about the dock that you can do is if you go onto the actual dock itself, you can click and change the things and some of the preferences in the dock. So you can minimize using Genie effect, which means whenever you minimize a window, it kind of pulls it into the middle and makes it look like it's going back into the bottle. The position on the screen, you can put your dock on the left, right, or bottom. You could turn magnification on. If I turn that on, that's what makes my apps look larger as I scroll across them, and I can turn that actually off so that it doesn't do that. I can turn hiding on and I can turn hiding off as well if that's something that I want to do with the apps. So as I have apps on my dock, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is whenever you are opening an app, it is going to show up on your dock, but just because it shows up doesn't mean that it will permanently stay there. So let's say that I want to have the App Store, but I don't want to have it on my dock permanently. If I click on the App Store and drag off, if I click and drag off of the App Store, notice it'll tell me to remove. So I can remove it by simply letting go, and it will take it away from the dock, so now it is not on the dock. But if I would open my App Store up again, so let's say that I choose the App Store, notice it opens up on my dock. Now that doesn't mean that it is going to stay there permanently. That just means it will be there until I quit the program and close it out, in which case it will remove it. The other thing that you may have seen whenever I clicked the first time on the app is that you have some secondary options when you do a click. You can do a new window for Safari. You have other options. You can quit the program, hide the program. The difference between this is that if I hide the program, that is simply going to minimize. It's like minimizing the program. If I quit Safari, that's actually going to take that white dot away on the menu bar. So for reminders, I'm going to secondary click and I want to quit. Notice that the white dot is now removed from reminders. That means it's closed. And for Safari, I'm going to hide it and the dot is still there. That means it is still actually open and processing. So those are your generals for your dock. As we move on, we're going to look at the Launchpad. Now there are several ways you can actually open your Launchpad. We have 3 ways of opening. You can do your multi-touch gesture, which if you remember is your thumb and 3 fingertips, and you pinch together, and that will open your Launchpad. At this point, I can choose any of the apps I have. I can search any of the apps I have. There is a Launchpad app, which I have actually removed from my dock, that I could choose that. The other thing that I could do is push the F4 key on my keyboard, and that will also open up my Launchpad. Just another way to do it. So there are 3 options, 3 ways that you can get to the Launchpad to open up the apps that you need on your MacBook. The way that they're organized in the Launchpad you can change. So if I want to move one from one screen to another, it's just like on my iPad. What I would do is, let's say that I want to move numbers from the first page of apps to the second, is you would click and hold exactly like you do on the iPad, and now when I'm holding down with my left click, I'm going to scroll and move, and I can put this on the second page, or if I wanted to, I can also make a folder just like I can on the iPad. So let's say I wanted to put numbers into a folder with pages. I'm going to hold it over. It's going to create a new folder. If I want to take that out of the folder, I simply drag out just like I would on the iPad. Now at this point, if I wanted to add numbers to my dock, I could slide this down and it would make a space on the dock, and now it will be on the dock. Notice though that it actually still shows up in the Launchpad as well. If I do not want it on the dock anymore, I can remove it from the dock. Another thing I can do if I wanted to have an app on my dock and it's not permanently there. Let's say that I open the App Store again, and instead of dragging it down out of the Launchpad, the other thing I can do would be to secondary click on the App Store, go to my options, and keep in dock. The other options I have are to open at login or to show in Finder. Those are some ways you can add out of the Launchpad onto your dock. Finally, we want to talk about how the apps function and the way they look. One of the things I want to point out is every app that you may open. Let's say that I open up Safari. When I go up to the menu bar, the first thing that I will see is the app that I am controlling. So when I go to Safari, I have About, I have Preferences. Every app will have preferences that do different things and that you can choose. So that's a very important thing to note and to keep an eye on, because if you're trying to do something within a specific app, you may want to look at the preferences and see what's there, what you can change, and what you may want to go in and actually do. Notice in this, when I click the preferences for Safari, it gives me my general information, tabs. This is where I would change my home screen. This is where I would change things with favorites, where my downloads go. So there are a lot of different pieces in the preferences that would be important for you whenever you open an app. The other thing you'll notice with the app is you do have your toolbar for File, Edit, View. Anything that is connected with that app, you will be able to access right there. The other thing that's very nice on the Mac with the update of El Capitan is that you can actually run a side-by-side view. So let's say that I have my calendar open and Safari. If I go to Safari and hold down on the full screen button, so I'm going to click the green and hold, it gives me a new view. Notice it expanded my view, and it has me the option of a light blue screen on the left, or if I move it right, a light blue screen on the right. So I'm going to put it on the right, and now it will show any app that is open that I can view in the side-by-side view. So I'm going to choose the calendar. So right now I can look at both the calendar and Safari at the same time, so that it is easier for me to function between the two. I then click the green button for Safari. Notice though calendar is still in full screen mode until I disengage full screen mode, and now calendar is here. Now another thing to note is what you have open and what you're actually controlling. Right now if I have calendar open and I choose the red X to close, what I see on the screen is Safari. What I'm actually controlling in the menu bar is still calendar. That is a difference with the Mac from the PC, because it believes you are still controlling the calendar until you either click on Safari or you completely quit the calendar app. So I'm going to go to calendar, quit calendar, and now notice I am running Safari. So that's just a slight deviation from a PC that you want to keep in mind. That way you don't go to your menu bar and you click somewhere and you think you're controlling one thing, but in reality, you are controlling another. Thank you for watching this video. Please explore other modules on the WCPS Professional Learning site.